Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're crushing morning miles or sprinting through back-to-back meetings, give your body the energy, protein, and power it needs to help you conquer your goals. Only at Smoothie King.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, August 7th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. A mix of sun and clouds today. Will still be hazy from those Canadian wildfires. From the smoke from those wildfires. The high going to be 81. Tonight and overnight clear, low 67. And then Friday sunshine, high 81. If you are walking out the door with us right now, 68 and cloudy in Montauk out on Long Island. It's 66 and cloudy in Cranberry over in New Jersey. And it's 67 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
It was a very tough night for United Airlines. Mayor Adams heads to Harlem to talk Legionnaires. Is President Trump supporting Andrew Cuomo in the race for mayor? We're learning more about a woman found dead on a boat in the Hamptons. And how much would you pay to drink beer and be lectured to? All right, let's get into it at 5:01. It was a tech outage last night that led United Airlines to ground flights nationwide. The issue has been resolved now, but over 1,000 flights were delayed. Dozens were canceled right at Newark Airport. The outage stemmed from some sort of issue with the airline's weight and balance computer system. This was about 6 o'clock when it all began. And when you heard the pilots chattering with the air traffic control tower, they were trying to figure out what the heck was going on.
Yes, sir. I was being told that you were holding boarding for this flight. We're just verifying as to the reasons why. Well, we're having a bunch of issues right now. We just finally got our gas load. We're unable to get any numbers for departure or our final weight.
United 1473. How long do we expect to be sitting here? Any idea?
Yeah, everybody confused. United figured it out. It was not a hack or anything like that. It was just some real computer issue. They said they were covering meals and hotels for many of the impacted customers.
But they said they couldn't bring any of the planes out of the gates, so we couldn't get into a gate.
Can't get through the phone lines. And when you go to your gate, there's no person at the gate anymore. She's saying there's nothing you can do but get on the phone, and everyone's standing in front of this poor girl.
Yeah, nobody could communicate with anybody else. It was a mess. FAA says it was aware that the airline was experiencing a technology issue, but they said it was their issue.
They're not responsible because it's a global glitch, computer glitch. It's like modern technology. I don't understand. It's supposed to make our life simpler and easier, and all it's done for me is frustrate me.
Yeah, well, for you anyway. So what they'll do today is everything's back up, but it'll be a game of catch-up today for all the people who missed their flights or had their flights delayed yesterday. 5:03. 11 people rescued from a sinking fishing boat in the waters off Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn last night. The boat apparently started to take on water while it was docked at Pier 1. This was about 9:30. Emergency responders arrived and they created what was a makeshift bridge to the dock. And they were able to get all 11 passengers crawling from the boat to the dock to safety. That boat slowly sunk. One person was taken to the hospital, Coney Island Hospital, just to be checked out, but we're told everybody's okay. The boat was stabilized, and at this point, from pictures we're seeing anyway this morning, seems to be half submerged. Now, of course, the question is what caused the boat to sink? We don't have the answer to that just yet. Smoke from Canadian wildfires expected to start to ease today after causing poor air quality most of the week here in the city and the Northeast.
That haze just continues to hang over the New York City skyline as hundreds of wildfires burn and expand from California to Canada, forcing highways to shut down, evacuations, and sending thick plumes of smoke hundreds of miles away across the continent.
Yeah, so the Midwest, they were hit by this as well. The Northeast, we got hit hard, hazy skies. A wind shift is going to push that smoke from the surface, and most air quality alerts, a lot of them were lifted last night. Others will be lifted today. This is all related to 800 fires that are still burning in Canada.
In California, officials say there have been more than 4,400 wildfires in the first half of this year. That's actually up 14% compared to the same time period in last year. Health experts are urging people to be on the lookout for symptoms of poor or unhealthy air quality. They say some of the first signs of that, a scratchy throat and watery eyes.
Yes, so it was very hazy here in the city yesterday. If you looked at the skyline, it looked like it was a cloudy day. But no, that was the smoke coming from Canada. And how bad must it be in Canada if we're getting the smoke here? It can't be good. 5:05. An investigation continues into this outbreak of Legionnaires' disease up in Harlem. 3 dead now, over 70 sick. It began back on July 5th. At least that's when the first report of Legionnaires came in, linked to a number of cooling towers in central Harlem. Health officials say you can get the disease by breathing in water vapor that has Legionella bacteria, which grows in warm water. Mayor Adams was up in Harlem yesterday trying to calm people's fears and then, of course, encourage people who are sick to go see a doctor. Now, here were some Harlem residents yesterday who say this has all made them very nervous.
Why certain area, not every, like the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, why Harlem only? This is where it's mainly coming from. That is very scary.
So we tried to get the health department to sort of pinpoint which buildings had been affected. They would not tell us, but it's 11 cooling towers in zip codes 127, 130, 135, 2 others as well.
Just the most important thing, the take-home message is if you are in this area where there is this particular high number of cases, get checked out if you don't feel well. If you feel like you're having the flu, like a cold-like symptoms, it's better to get checked out.
And of course, if you don't feel sick and then you hear about this and you live in Harlem, a lot of people start to feel like they have those symptoms anyway.
So it's like, why like this area? Yeah. And are they going to shut it down? Are they going to do anything? You see my voice right now. I'm scared to go get tested, honestly speaking, but it's just like yesterday I had to chill.
I don't blame her. New York State health officials suggest draining garden hoses if you're in this area, following manufacturers' instructions for cleaning and replacing water filters on things like air conditioning. I can't remember the last time I changed the filter. So while the disease can be deadly, the good news is more times than not it can be treated very easily with antibiotics. So the key, and mostly this is affecting people who are over 50 years old, is if you start to have these flu-like symptoms, go to the doctor. They'll give you these antibiotics and likely you'll be just fine. WABC News Time 509 out to Brooklyn, where there is a mystery involving body parts.
Police are investigating it as possible human remains, which gives some indication of the condition inside that trash bag. It was found Wednesday afternoon by a transportation department worker near exit 1 of the northbound Jackie Robinson Parkway. That's in Cypress Hills. The medical examiner will determine if the remains are human. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
Down to Washington, President Trump's sweeping tariffs. They went into effect at midnight.
Import taxes are going to reach levels not seen in the country in almost 100 years, with over 60 countries and the European Union facing rates of 15% or more. A wide variety of products will be hit, ranging from appliances, cars, food, and furniture. In a post on Truth Social just after things went into effect, Trump said billions of dollars are now flowing into the U.S. I'm Mark Mayfield.
From D.C. down to Georgia, where a United States Army sergeant opened fire at Fort Stewart Hunter Army Airfield in Georgia yesterday, injuring 5 fellow soldiers before being subdued and arrested by others on the base. According to the Brigadier General there, all 5 soldiers, thank God, are in stable condition and expected to recover. 3 of them, though, had to undergo surgery. It was, as you might imagine, just a crazy scene there yesterday.
Sergeant Radford has been interviewed by the Army Criminal Investigation Division and is currently in pretrial confinement, awaiting a charging decision by the Office of the Special Trial Counsel.
Yeah, the Radford he's talking about there is Sergeant Cornelius Radford, who was stationed at the base, has not been in combat. Nobody really understands why he opened fire. He used his own personal handgun, apparently.
This morning, shortly before 11 o'clock, an active duty soldier assigned to Fort Stewart, Georgia, shot and wounded 5 of his fellow soldiers here on Fort Stewart. Thankfully, all are in stable condition and all are expected to recover. But I know that his soldiers in the area that witnessed the shooting immediately and without hesitation tackled the soldier, subdued him, that allowed law enforcement to then take him into custody.
So why did Sergeant Cornelius Radford open up on his fellow soldiers, open fire? We don't know. And of course, even once we have an explanation from him, it probably won't make a whole lot of sense. 5:11. President Trump says he's hopeful, but is not confirming an upcoming meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. He was speaking about this at the White House yesterday. He says his U.S. envoy had good talks with Putin this week and was asked if there was any sort of breakthrough.
I don't call it a breakthrough. I mean, we've been working on this a long time. There are thousands of young people dying, mostly soldiers, but also, missiles being hit into Kiev and other places.
He wouldn't clarify if he believed there was a Russia-Ukraine ceasefire deal on the horizon.
We had some very good talks with President Putin today, and there's a very good chance that we could be ending the end of that road.
Yeah, he's being very careful about how he spoke about the whole thing.
There's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
Yeah, so you had U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who was in Russia, saying he concluded the meetings with Vladimir Putin. Correspondent Keir Simons has more on that.
If there is not an agreement, then Friday's deadline stands, and President Trump has said that he will double down on sanctioning Russia and supporting Ukraine.
Now, I guess it really depends on how well those meetings went. We'll have to see in the coming hours if any of those tariffs are laid down on Russia after the outcomes of yesterday's talks, which they said were positive. 5:13, as several high-profile figures face subpoenas in the Jeffrey Epstein congressional investigation, the White House is reportedly considering releasing some new documents. Correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has more.
NBC News has learned the Trump administration is considering publicly releasing transcripts of Ghislaine Maxwell's two-day interview, according to a source familiar with the matter. Maxwell spoke with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who is also President Trump's former personal lawyer.
Meanwhile, the administration facing some questions over Maxwell's transfer from a Florida prison to a minimum security federal prison camp in Texas. And President Trump denies any involvement, saying he didn't know anything about it before it took place.
The president also denying he played any role in the transfer of Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator and former girlfriend from a Florida prison to a minimum security federal prison camp in Texas that typically does not hold sex offenders. In a bipartisan vote, the House Oversight Committee is issuing a new subpoena, calling on the Justice Department to turn over all its files related to the cases against both Epstein and Maxwell. Republicans on the committee also issuing subpoenas to depose nearly a dozen people, including Bill and Hillary Clinton.
5:14 down to Texas, where Republicans defending that move to redraw the state's congressional boundaries, creating 5 more GOP-friendly districts. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick says it reflects a trend in voting in the Lone Star State.
All we're doing is fighting back to be sure our red state is represented as our voters indicate.
So he points to the border with Mexico. Hispanics have increasingly been voting for President Trump. The proposed maps, he says, reflects that. Experts say if boundaries are approved, it's likely the GOP will pick up a pair of congressional seats in South Texas.
We're just drawing maps to make sure we have the right representation in Congress on behalf of a red state. We're much more Republican than we've ever been, and it's perfectly legal what we're doing.
Meanwhile, though, the Texas Democrats are still out of state, so no votes can be held. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning to you, Noam Layden. Start here in Texas. Paul Goldschmidt put the Yankees ahead with a pinch hit solo homer in the 7th, and New York ended its 5-game losing streak with a 3-2 victory over the Rangers. The Yanks avoided being swept in Texas for the first time since 2010 and kept the Rangers from moving past them for the American League's 3rd and final wildcard spot. Mark Leiter Jr. got the win after coming on with a runner on in the 6th and getting a fly out before a double play grounder to end the inning. That came after his cousin, Rangers rookie starter Jack Leiter, struck out 3 and walked 4 in 3 1/3 innings while allowing 2 runs, 1 earned. David Bednar struck out 5 while throwing 42 pitches over the final inning and 2/3 for his 18th save. The Yankees are 9-3 this season when trying to avoid being swept in a series. Up next for the Yanks, now 2.5 games back of the Red Sox for second place in the AL East. They're a game and a half up on Texas now for that third and final wildcard spot in the AL. They get an off day today before opening up a 3-game series against AL West leading Houston tomorrow night. In Queens, the Mets went down 4-1 to Cleveland, getting swept in the 3-game set and good for their 8th loss in their last 9 contests. The Mets offense struggled all night. Their only hit was Juan Soto's 9th-inning homer, obviously painfully late after Cleveland starter Gavin Williams flirted with a no-hitter. Up until that point, the offense remains in a big-time slump. Mets starter David Peterson lasted 6 innings, allowing 4 runs, including 2 early homers and 5 hits total through 6 innings of work. Up next for the Mets now, 2.5 games back of Philadelphia for first place in the NL East, an off day today before traveling to Milwaukee to open a 3-game weekend series against the Brewers tomorrow night. That's your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:18 back Texas, where Texas Democrats who fled the state in protest of the redistricting that Republicans want to do are spending their time speaking out against the effort in places, of course, outside of the Lone Star State. There's the threat that they'll be arrested if they come back to Texas. So some of the lawmakers have been here in New York, others up in Boston.
We've all heard the term gerrymandering, which was founded here in Massachusetts. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Trump-mandering.
Now, these Democrats are being celebrated in Democratic states. The heated political rhetoric from this redistricting debate has led to at least one threat against members of the Texas House, the Democratic caucus.
Donald Trump picked up the phone, called our governor, and demanded new maps. And just like that, Texas Republicans sprang into action.
Now, people keep asking, how's this all going to end? We just don't know. Those Democrats still out of state this morning. 5:19. Let's go overseas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is pushing ahead with a proposal for Israel to take full control of the Gaza Strip. But correspondent Blake Sifton reports that the plan still faces some opposition from senior military leaders.
Netanyahu reportedly clashed with the chief of staff of the Israeli military, Ayel Zamir, who opposes the plan and is said to have insisted that it would create a trap in Gaza. The UN says the move would have catastrophic consequences for Gaza's civilian population. Following a meeting with senior security officials on Tuesday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reportedly decided to move forward with the full takeover of Gaza by the Israeli military, even if it means that the remaining hostages could be harmed by Hamas. The plan would still need the approval of the Israeli Security Cabinet.
But it looks this morning like they're going ahead with that plan, and maybe you missed this story because it did not get a lot of attention, but the United Nations is now saying it collected a total of 2,600 trucks between May 19th and August 5th that entered Gaza from Israel with food that were intercepted by mobs or forcibly by armed terrorists during their transit in the Gaza Strip, which would be the reason food's not getting to people who need the food. The UN Office for Project Service figures showed that over the past 2 months, the amount of seized humanitarian aid was at about 90%. 90% of the food that got across the border from Israel was seized either by terrorists or mobs inside Gaza. Of course, that story not getting a lot of play elsewhere. 5:21. Let's bring it back home down to Florida. Health experts in Florida sounding the alarm after 4 deaths, 13 cases of a flesh-eating bacteria that go back to July 24th, including places like counties of Broward, Bay, Hillsborough. It's found in warm seawater. It's called Vibrio. Infectious disease expert Dr. Eileen Marty warns that the symptoms sort of vary for most people.
If you eat it versus if it gets in through a wound. So if it gets in through the wound, that wound is going to blister. It's not going to heal well. It's going to be very painful. And you watch it get worse.
To prevent Vibrio sickness, avoid raw or uncooked seafood. Stay out of warm salt water if you have open wounds.
This is a bacterium called Vibrio vulnificus. Vibrio vulnificus likes brackish water, so salty water. They should cook their seafood. If you have a wound and you must be in salty or brackish water, what you need to do is use a waterproof bandage.
Yeah, so health authorities say they're watching this all very closely down in Florida. 5:22. The woman in that viral video who was punched and beat up in Cincinnati in a brawl last month. She's speaking out for the first time. Yesterday, she told reporters that she thought she was going to die.
I truly felt like that. And I still am just shocked that I didn't. So are my doctors.
In a news conference yesterday with Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno, the woman known as Holly says she's been unable to sleep knowing that the man accused of punching her is, now and finally in custody. She said up till then, it was sleepless nights. She's recovering from a concussion, and doctors are concerned she may have some neurological damage from that brawl.
The man who attacked me and might have permanently damaged me forever should never have been on the streets, ever.
So police working hard to solve this case, especially because the story went viral.
I'm still going to a lot of specialists. I'm kind of like Dory the fish right now, if you will. So I have my aunt as my caretaker because I literally... my brain comes and goes.
Yeah, and it's believable if you see that video. It is vicious. 523 down to Texas, where the Women's Privacy Act has been given the thumbs up in the state Senate. Backers say the goal is to keep biological males out of restrooms, locker rooms, and battered women's shelters.
Women are expected to surrender their safety to accommodate men pretending to be women.
The author of the bill, who you just heard there, says it's common sense piece of legislation. The bill, a priority of Governor Abbott when he called a special session of the state legislature.
Women and children deserve safety, dignity, and privacy in spaces that are meant for them.
All right, so if on your birth certificate it says you are a male, but now you're transgendered, you will not be able to use a female bathroom, a women's bathroom in Texas if this bill goes through.
The left is trying to turn actual women into oppressors and men pretending to be women into victims.
Now, they were going to try to pass this bill, but they're having the same issue, right? Democrats have left the state because of that redistricting thing going on, and so they can't pass anything unless the Democrats come back. 525, authorities issuing a warning to parents after a Pennsylvania child was severely burned by a viral prank.
Lancaster Township Police said a 12-year-old boy boiled water in the microwave and then poured it on his sleeping 9-year-old brother. It was part of what's known as the hot water challenge, where boiling water is dumped on someone who isn't expecting it. Parents and caregivers are being urged to monitor their child's online activity to guard against similar situations. I'm Monica Nelson.
Boy, you can't make that stuff up, can you? How stupid that is. 525, President Trump says Apple will invest $600 billion in the U.S. He was joined by Apple's CEO, Tim Cook, at the White House yesterday for the announcement where he says the investment will happen over the next 4 years.
That's $100 billion more than they were originally going to invest.
Part of the investment includes new facilities in Texas, Arizona, Utah, and right here in New York.
Today, Apple is announcing that it will invest $600 billion. That's with a B.
Big move for Apple. This is kind of cool. A Northern California company developing a new tool to assist visually impaired people. Kevin Chow, who's been blind since he was 14 years old, partnered with the Silicon Valley startup to create what he calls EchoVision glasses.
It's really about bringing back that independence, that power, that sense of control, and the ability to have access to information in your world to decide and choose what you want to do.
Okay, so the glasses can describe the wearer's surroundings with a push of a button. They read text, they recognize emotions, and they offer hands-free navigation assistance. How cool is that?
We have more choices and that we can make our own decisions more easily because we've got the data. It could certainly help us to live more independently and self-reliantly.
Yeah, very cool. 526, the popular McDonald's adult Happy Meals are returning.
The McDonaldland meal will be available starting August 12th. It comes with the customer's choice of a quarter pounder with cheese or 10-piece chicken McNuggets, fries, and the new limited edition Mount McDonaldland shake. Fans will get one of 6 collectible tins featuring a McDonaldland character like Ronald McDonald, Grimace, and the Hamburglar that have postcards, stickers, and more inside the meal. A McDonaldland merchandise collection in collaboration with PacSun will also be available. I'm Matt Mattinson.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, August 7th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. A mix of sun and clouds. Today we'll still have some of that smoke from the Canadian wildfires. The high 81. Tonight and overnight clear, low 67. And then Friday sunshine, high 81. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 68 and cloudy in Montauk out on Long Island. It is 67 and cloudy in Cranberry over in New Jersey. And 66 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 5:38. Let's go out to the campaign for mayor. The candidates running are reacting to a New York Times piece that says President Trump is deciding whether to get involved in the race. According to the Times, Mr. Trump wants to stop Zohran Mamdani, is trying to figure out which candidate has the best chance to beat him. And the Times says the president had a phone conversation with Andrew Cuomo, who of course is running as an independent. Now, both sides of that conversation are denying that it took place, but our very own Sydney Ferris Rosenberg, who is quoted in this New York Times piece, says that Cuomo intimated to him that he had been speaking with the White House. Now, the Cuomo campaign says the governor and the president have not spoken in some time, as far as I know. Okay, so they weren't definitive about it. As far as they know, the governor and the president had not spoken in a while. The president was asked about this yesterday, and he was pretty clear. He says, no, I have not spoken with Andrew Cuomo. Now you had Zohran Mamdani and Curtis Sliwa all responding to this yesterday. Here was Zohran Mamdani, who says, yeah, I'm sure Andrew Cuomo was speaking with the White House.
Whatever Donald Trump seeks to do to influence the outcome of this election, I have more faith in New Yorkers themselves, who have shown, whether it be in the previous presidential election or whether it be through this primary race, that they do not want to support our current president's vision.
Yeah, so it's clear that all the candidates in the race for mayor do not want the endorsement from the White House. You might be a President Trump fan, but the majority of New Yorkers are not. So here was Curtis Sliwa reacting to this New York Times piece yesterday.
There's no doubt he talks often with Eric Adams. He talks often with Cuomo, who he's known. Their families have known one another. He doesn't talk to me. So I've advised the president publicly, be like Switzerland. Stay out of this race.
Yeah, Curtis Sliwa does not want that Trump endorsement either. A political analyst, J.C. Polanco, says it probably best if the president stay out of the race altogether.
This is a great opportunity for Mamdani to use the president as a boogeyman or an albatross to put around the neck of former Governor Cuomo. There are many ways that President Trump could be helpful. The worst way would be an endorsement. It's the kiss of death of New York City.
And in this New York Times piece yesterday, a quote from our very own Sydney Rosenberg, he said the city is not exactly a haven for Trump supporters. I think that's putting it lightly. And it was a good day for two campaigns yesterday when the New York City Campaign Finance Board decided who was getting matching funds. So it was not a good day for Mayor Adams. He was denied millions of dollars in matching funds again. And the New York City Campaign Finance Board also let his campaign know that he may not get any matching campaign cash anytime soon. Here's what it sounded like during their meeting yesterday when they made the decision not to give Mayor Adams' campaign a chance to get those matching funds.
The board finds the campaign has provided incomplete and misleading information to the CFB and has impeded the CFB staff's ability to complete its investigation. The board's investigation of the Adams campaign is ongoing. As stewards of taxpayer dollars, we are committed to enforcing the rules fairly and equally to all candidates.
All right, so the news was a lot better for two other candidates from the Campaign Finance Board, Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani and Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa. The board awarded Mamdani for mayor campaign $1.7 million in public matching funds, but Sliwa was clearly the winner yesterday. He'll receive $1.9 million in win matching funds.
They always said Curtis can't raise the money necessary to run a good campaign for mayor. They couldn't be more hopelessly wrong.
Yeah, so independent candidate Jim Walden, he'll get $200,000. Independent candidate Andrew Cuomo was not awarded any matching funds. His campaign says that the former governor did not apply for them. And for those looking to wager on the race, the betting pools still have Zohran Mamdani winning easily. If you're you can bet on anything these days, right? So you can, of course, bet on a race for mayor. The betting pools have Zohran Mamdani with an 81.8% chance of winning the race in the fall. The next closest candidate at 7.8% is Andrew Cuomo. 5:43, let's go out to Long Island. Officials in Suffolk County removing 25 dogs that were in terrible shape from a home in Bayshore. Suffolk County SPCA police responding to a home on Richland Boulevard after receiving a 911 call about barking dogs. The 25 dogs taken from both in and outside of the home. It's believed that they had been left alone for several days. The dogs were hiding throughout the house and home, and the house itself was just in deplorable condition. It's one of these people who's like a pack rat, tons of stuff all over the place.
We avoid walking by this house because we don't know what's around.
The consistent barking and yelping and screaming, and it really made me think like, hey, what's really going on next door?
Yeah, when town officials in Bayshore went into this house, they deemed it uninhabitable due to high levels of ammonia. The dogs evaluated in what was essentially like a MASH mobile home hospital that was parked outside the house. They're now being cared for by the Islip Animal Shelter.
That is horrendous, disgusting, and
she's talking about the house.
No words. We all feel for the animals. They're helpless. She's oblivious to what she's doing.
And the she's talking about is the homeowner, Robin Mills, who was arrested in 2017 and charged with 22 counts of animal cruelty for allegedly neglecting 21 dogs and one bird. But somehow she was able to get her hands on dogs again. And she spoke to a reporter from Eyewitness News yesterday. This reporter was saying, what's up? And did you take care of your dogs? Are you hoarding them? Or are you just a hoarder altogether?
Dogs weren't allowed. I didn't have them in the house. Dogs weren't allowed in the house. They were in the backyard with me. Okay, and I had a bed set up in the backyard.
And that doesn't worry you at all about the condition of the dogs, that they're living in the backyard with you?
I was taking care of them.
Now, I found this to all be terribly sad as I watched it, not just for the animals, but for Robin Mills, who clearly has mental health issues. As I watched this interview, let's hope the town of Bayshore gets her and the dogs both the help they need. Charges against her are still pending. 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noam Layden. We'll start here on the diamond in Texas. Yankees, they won a baseball game. How about that? Paul Goldschmidt put the Yanks ahead with a pinch hit solo homer in the 7th inning, and New York ended its 5-game losing streak with a 3-2 victory over the Rangers. The Yankees avoided being swept in Texas for the first time since 2010 and kept the Rangers from moving past them for the American League's 3rd and final wild card spot. Mark Leiter Jr. got the win after coming on with a runner on in the 6th and getting a fly out before a double play grounder to end the inning. That came after his cousin, Rangers rookie starter Jack Leiter, struck out 3 and walked 4 in 3 1/3 innings of work for him. David Bednar struck out 5 while throwing 42 pitches over the final inning and 2/3 for his 18th save. The Yankees are 9-3 this season when trying to avoid being swept in a series. Up next for the Yanks, now 2.5 games back of the Red Sox for 2nd place in the AL East, and they're a 1.5 up on Texas for that 3rd and final wildcard spot in the AL. An off day today before opening up a 3-game series against AL West leading Houston tomorrow night. In Queens, the Mets went down 4-1 to Cleveland, getting swept in that 3-game set, and that loss is good for their 8th in their last 9 contests. The Mets offense struggled all night. Their only hit was Juan Soto's 9th inning homer, obviously painfully late, and after Cleveland starter Gavin Williams flirted with a no-hitter up until that point. The offense remains in a big-time slump overall. Mets starter David Peterson lasted 6 innings, allowing 4 runs, including 2 early homers, and then 5 hits total through 6 innings of of work. Up next for the Mets, now 2.5 games back of Philly for first place in the NL East, an off day today before traveling to Milwaukee to open a 3-game weekend series against the Brewers tomorrow night. That is your Sports Now, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:48. Suffolk County Police identifying the woman who was found dead aboard a boat at the Montauk Yacht Club early Tuesday morning. It's Martha Nolan O'Slatera. She's a 33-year-old who lives here in Manhattan. The death being investigated by the Suffolk County Homicide Squad. An autopsy apparently did not show evidence of violence, and her final cause of death that's pending further examination. It is a big story, as you might guess, in the Hamptons. Good Samaritans tried to perform CPR on her when they found her body on Tuesday morning. Here's a fisherman in the area who saw the chaotic scene.
Somebody was taking her to the hospital, you know what I mean? And then later on we talked, and he says, I heard she arrived at the hospital, was expired.
O'Slatera worked as a marketing consultant, was also a co-founder apparently of a swimwear brand that had a pop-up shop in the Hamptons this summer, and that's why she was there. She had moved to New York, this according to her LinkedIn profile anyway, in 2015. Out in the Hamptons, it is all the talk. Families out there for vacation.
We come out here every summer, for vacation, and it's definitely a little disturbing to hear that happened, and we don't really know why.
Now, the Irish Department of Foreign Affairs says they're aware of this case, and they're providing any assistance they can.
I don't think anybody's in jeopardy. I really don't. Everybody needs to just, cool their jets.
It's very unfortunate. This is a place a lot of families like to come every year to celebrate the summer.
I imagine we'll hear more once this autopsy is completely done. 5:50, an investigation underway after 2 people found dead in a Greenwich, Connecticut home.
Greenwich police doing a welfare check at a home in the Old Greenwich part of town found 2 people dead inside. They've been identified as Suzanne Adams and Stein Eric Solberg. The medical examiner will determine why the 83-year-old Adams and the 56-year-old Solberg died and whether foul play was involved. Officials say there is no threat to the public. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, Connecticut.
From Connecticut, we bring it back here into Manhattan. State charges now being brought against those 2 illegal immigrants in the shooting of a off-duty Border Patrol agent in Upper Manhattan in a park last month. The Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, says Dominican national Miguel Mora faces first-degree attempted murder, other charges, while his accomplice, Christian Ibar, has been indicted on robbery and other charges.
We allege that the shooting of this off-duty officer was part of a violent robbery spree that the defendants planned via text messages in advance.
Cops say the border agent was off-duty with a female friend when these 2 attempted to rob him and gunfire was exchanged.
They were dangerous. They did not care who they were harming on our streets. And it is imperative that this apprehension was made.
That's Mayor Adams. The federal agent is recovering from gunshot wounds. Bragg says the state charges will run parallel to federal charges against that pair. Over to New Jersey, where 2 men who say they were sexually abused as children by Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio have reached a 6-figure settlement with the Newark Archdiocese. The 2 alleged victims say that they were molested as children in the 1970s when they worked inside a church in Jersey City. Here's one of them speaking out yesterday.
So I've been dealing with it my entire childhood, my adult life, and I think of it every single day. What happened?
Newark Archdiocese releasing a statement yesterday responding to the settlements, saying that the settlements are not an admission of fact or liability. Bishop DiMarzio is retired and has long denied the claims of abuse. 5:52. Animal rights activists back out yesterday here in the city. We told you earlier this week about that horse named Lady that collapsed on Tuesday afternoon. So protesters were right at the scene yesterday, chanting there's no excuse for horse abuse. They demonstrated outside Manhattan stables as well after that 15-year-old carriage horse dropped dead in Hell's Kitchen following her Central Park work shift.
They're protecting abuse. They're letting this abuse, horse
horses literally be worked to death.
Now, protesters want to shut down the carriage horse industry, but union representative says it's an overreaction to what actually happened to Lady.
Our horses are happy, healthy, and thriving here.
Yeah, so far we have no word what caused Lady's death. 5:53. Major changes going to go into effect today with New York State's discovery laws related to criminal cases. Governor Hochul says the older laws have led to a lot of cases being thrown out and dangerous people being put back out on the streets.
So my goal was to stop this, protect the rights of defendants, always paramount to us. We hold that belief strongly, but also hold offenders accountable.
Hochul says amendments to the discovery process will support victims of serious crimes while still safeguarding the right to a fair and speedy trial.
These reforms give law enforcement and prosecutors the tools we need to hold offenders accountable without getting cases tossed out over paperwork technicalities.
That's the Albany County Sheriff Craig Apple, who says just way too many people are being set free over minor errors. 5:54, Hamilton is headed for the big screen now.
A performance featuring the Broadway musical's original cast, recorded in 2016, will hit theaters on September 5th. It first dropped on Disney Plus in 2020 after the COVID-19 pandemic forced a theatrical release to be scrapped. The Disney Plus special was nominated for 12 Emmys, winning 2. The theatrical release is part of the musical's 10th anniversary celebration. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
There's a unique lecture series that's been taking off at bars across the city. It allows attendees to sip on a cocktail, beer, or wine while they learn about all kinds of topics. It's called Lectures on Tap, and this thing has gotten huge. The owners of the company are Ty and Facila Freely, who say they set this up because they said New Yorkers want something beyond like bar trivia, which has, been big for years.
This is catered towards people who are doing a 9-to-5 or they have a busy schedule, but they really miss that curiosity that school brought. Just this last month, we released more than 30 lectures, and in less than 2 hours, everything was sold out.
Yeah, so I guess if you're single, it's a good way to meet somebody and they're interested in some topic more than trivia. Tuesday night's topic was a professor from NYU, and it was death, debt, and data, learning from history with lots of examples from the failures of the Roman Empire. I would be asleep in a couple seconds at this lecture, but it was packed. People, once you're out of college and you're working, you kind of do all of a sudden get interested in topics that you never thought you would have back in college.
You can do it now just because you want to, and you can choose the things that you're interested in.
I feel like he made it really relatable too, kind of like throwing in little things about just what's going on today, but also like touching on a lot of huge things throughout history.
It's nice to exercise your brain even after work or after hours.
All right. So you get to drink a little bit, which, kills a couple brain cells, and you learn a couple things, which maybe helps you out. 45 minutes to dive into a topic. Then they reserve like 15 minutes to geek out with Q&A, that kind of thing. Coming up on 5:57, traffic, transit on the 7s. Here's Joe Nolan.
Out of college, the last thing I wanted to do is hear a lecture
on death, debt, data, learning from history with lots of examples from the failures of the Roman Empire. That was the topic on Tuesday night.
Yeah, that sounds great. Can I have another margarita, please?
Right, exactly. There's not enough margaritas to make that interesting.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Greg Kelly here for Colonial Metals Group. China's leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II, one that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Go to freegoldguide.com/Kelly or call 800-655-5186 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.